I always say it's the W5 of lobbying, which is a little bit different than the W5 of journalism, because what really you have to do is the what. What are you asking? Because sometimes some people come into this office and they leave and I have no idea what it was they were asking me to do. You know, is this just a relationship building? If so, just say, I'm new in this organization, I wanted to meet you, I hear, and I'll get back at you when I've got, you know, a thing I want. But you need to know, you know, what is the short-term ask, what's the long-term goal, and that you have to be really clear about that. The why comes next in terms of why should people see things your way? What actually is the reason? And is it evidence? Is it international examples? Is it just plain old fairness? Why should they see it that way? The where. There's certain things, sometimes members of Parliament are really, really busy on the Hill and they end up really having terrible time, particularly cabinet ministers, particularly that sometimes you're never going to get through the barbed wire on the Hill because it's just too chargé in terms of their agendas, but you can find them in their constituency office, and particularly then it's better to go with somebody who lives in their riding. And that you can sometimes get in to see them there in the break weeks, in the times that are part of the you know, the parliamentary schedule. One of the other things that I always find is when people protest here on the Hill in a week that Parliament's not sitting, it doesn't necessarily look like you've figured out how this place works. And occasionally, for something I really care about, even though they've sort of messed up the schedule, I've had to fly in to be at a rally on the Hill in a week that's not, where Parliament's not sitting, and that sort of is, you know, we do it, but we think, oh my word, I wish they'd looked at the parliamentary schedule before they booked down. Sometimes it's because it's the time of their annual general meeting, or it's something that happens to be here. The who of it all is also the, you know, it's the minister, the parliamentary secretary, it's all of the people, it's the members of the committee. But sometimes you can find out who actually is passionate about this file, who isn't sitting on that committee, who you know, and in particular with the larger caucuses, people don't necessarily get the committee they asked for. Who, what, yeah, when I think we sort of did, and where we sort of did both in the schedule. And then there's a sort of how, that is always how you, what would work for this person, and is it, you know, sometimes is it the investment argument of for every dollar you spend now you save $7 later, or you know, the kinds of things that you know we know on early child care. The figures are important, and the evidence is important, the international examples are important, but I think that sometimes it is the narrative and the story that actually is what moves the emotional part and actually can change somebody's mind about something.